What's going on, friends? Logan Myerz here for Cinephellas.com, back talking more of The Outsider. I absolutely love the show. I've been so involved and wrapped up in the first few episodes. I was really excited for episode 3 to be released on Sunday. Had to check it out and talk about it for you guys. So episode 3 is titled Dark Uncle. This time around, it's not directed by Jason Bateman. It's directed by Andrew Bernstein. Jason Bateman, he gone. And this episode is also written by Richard Price. The setup of the episode, last time they found clothes at this barn where this murder took place, leading to Terry Maitland. So they find the clothes and they find a lot of evidence about it. In this episode, we get to see more of the asshole cop himself, Jack Hoskins. He basically gets sent to go out to the barn to gather evidence, check out everything they found, essentially with them thinking Terry Maitland's clothes and the belt buckle and things like that. But along the way, he has to stop at the strip club and, kick back a few cold brewskis and make fun of strippers for some odd reason. In this episode, he reminded me much of Henry Bowers from It, the same kind of asshole character that hates everybody. He's a complete dick to everybody for no apparent reason and has a drinking problem. And something really spooky happens to Jack Hoskins. He gets to the barn, he's pretty lit, pretty drunk, peeing all over the crime scene after too many beers. He comes across this shadowy figure that he sees in the barn. He comes across the shadowy figure. It's really spooky in this barn. And we don't know exactly what happens to him, but it really has to do with something in his neck that we'll find out and we'll see more of later in the episode. But it was a really cool setup of the episode. I hate this character, Jack Hoskins. It reminded me much of other characters in Stephen King books, but as a guy you really love to hate. And something does happen to him, and I think it'll make more sense in the coming episodes. With that being said, we still have Ralph, played by Ben Mendelsohn. He's on leave from work, but of course he's still working the case, trying to figure out what exactly happened to this kid who murdered him. Is it Terry Maitland? How can it be? There's a lot of questions. So he's still working on this case. This episode is definitely a slow burn. A lot of him, kind of moping around, doing more investigating, trying to figure things out. It's him and his wife having kind of boring dialogue. But there's a really cool scene at the very end of the episode with Ralph and Terry Maitland's daughter. And they find that Terry Maitland's dad didn't have a really good past either. He had some run-ins with the law, doing some bad things. So they're trying to figure out how they're going to investigate this. And they find out about this private investigator, the introduction of the PI herself, Holly Gibney, played by Cynthia Erivo. Kudos to her, by the way. She's up for an Oscar for her portrayal of Harriet Tubman in the film Harriet. I have not seen it yet, but it's on my list to watch before the Oscars next month. So kudos to her, really great actress. She shows up, she's very eccentric, socially awkward. She knows and spits out a lot of facts about like cars and ears, and she has a really good memory, but she's definitely off, and she reminded me much of like a character in X-Men or something. If you guys are familiar with Stephen King novels, the character Holly Gibney shows up in Mr. Mercedes, so it's really cool. She shows up in The Outsiders. But her basically getting hired on to investigate the situation in Ohio. They meet up with her to talk about the case, and Ben Mendelsohn, playing Ralph, he's like, what's wrong with her? He's just really questioning her. But eventually he kind of loosens up and really thinks that she's capable of figuring this out. What exactly happened to this murder? Terry Maitland, his father in this hospital. While investigating this, Holly finds out about this murder, child murders, has to do with a hospital employee, the same hospital that Terry Maitland's dad is staying at. So she thought that was kind of weird. With that being said, we're introduced to the murderer himself. He's in prison. Everybody in the prison knows he's a child murderer, so he knows he's not going to last long in prison. It sets up his character in the episode for a really brutal ending. Holly Gibney's character is her trying to dive into this case, trying to figure it out, using her skill set to really figure out what exactly happened. And she's thinking and brings up the doppelganger, like I was talking about in my previous reviews of the episode. I think it was like a doppelganger, right? And she kind of explains it, where it's from in Germany and things like that. Not an identical twin, but it's like a clone of us, right? In a different place, that looks exactly like us. So that's what we're thinking with Terry Maitland having a doppelganger. And also having to do with this hooded figure, this really creepy looking hooded figure that is kind of the center of this whole story, having to do with that and Terry Maitland possibly having a doppelganger. And so I thought that was really great, her kind of talking about that and hitting on some of my theories. But with Ralph and his wife showing up to talk to young Jess Maitland, Terry's daughter, her talking about the man, she sees in the visions and bad dreams. Jess's mom is trying to convince her it's just a bad dream, it's not real, but Jess is really convinced that, this is real, and she has a message for Ralph. So Ralph showing up and trying to talk to her, the young girl says that he has to stop or something bad is going to happen to him. So Ralph's thinking, whatever, I'm going to shake this off. But it was a really great and convincing and horrific scene at the very end of the episode with this young girl seeing the man, the hooded figure. That's really the center of this whole story. Everything that's going on, entity is always there, So it's really the heart and center of this story, everything going on. And the young girl, forewarning, if he continues to investigate this and try to figure out what happened to Terry Maitland and the murder, he's probably going to end up dying. So it was really creepy, really great ending to this episode, and I really love that scene with the young girl and Ralph and his wife. It was just really eerie and something unsettling about that. But overall, episode 3 of The Outsider, titled Dark Uncle, was really great. A bit of a slow burn, a lot of dialogue, setting up of other characters and trying to really set up the rest of the season. It does get slow at times. Directing was not as solid as the first 2 episodes compared to Jason Bateman, but I did have a really great time with it. Cinematography-wise, camera, editing, the music, everything is still solid. But that's really setting up for the rest of the season, and I think it's all really going to pay off for all these characters, especially Ralph. I'm really interested to see what they do with this character, the outsider, the man. If the young girl is actually seeing this character, what's going to happen to Ralph? Is he going to stop? Is he going to continue to investigate? And I'm really hoping, with the introduction to Holly Gibney's character, she's going to figure everything out. She's brought in for all the right reasons. They're really going to crack this case, and it's going to be really amazing at the end, I'm hoping. I really like the beginning part of the episode as well as Jack Hoskins. Don't like the character, but I thought it was really cool, spooky and horrific atmosphere they built in this barn. It really felt like a horror movie from the 80s, and it really had an awesome jump scare in it, sort of entity that was in there with him and kind of took over his body, it seems like. There's something going on with Jack's neck throughout the episode, and it looks really eerie, like an alien took over his body or something. Just the way it looks, the effects look really badass. And Jack seems like he's the next target. He's the one that has this outsider inside of him, it feels like, that's controlling Jack, and he's really angry and he's in pain, and I think he's going to be the next killer. With that being said, I'm going to give episode 3 of The Outsider, titled Dark Uncle, a 3 out of 5 Jack Hoskins hair pieces. So what did you guys think of episode 3? What did you like about it? What didn't you like about it? What did you guys think of that ending? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to hit subscribe. This is Logan Myerz signing out from that creepy barn in The Outsider. Until the next video review. Cheers!